We have calculate table and filter function, all selected, all except keep filter, remove filter. This is a very important topic, using which the calculate function, calculate table, all functions, right, and keep filter, remove filter. You can perform advanced analytics. Okay, and selected value also very much helpful. We'll first start with understanding what is calculate function. The calculate function, um, the syntax for this one is the first argument is your expression. It is mandatory. You can you can have any number of filters, but the filter can be a filter can be a Boolean expression or table expression, or a table expression, or it can be a Boolean expression or a filter modification function. So what is the Boolean filter expression? For example, city is equivalent to Hyderabad. That is your Boolean filter expression. Table filter expression is filter function, right? You have a filter function that is available. Filter within the parenthesis, city equal to Pune. Okay. So that is your, when you use a filter function, that is your table filter function, because the filter function returns a table, isn't it? The Boolean filter function, it returns true or false. And then your filter modification function also you can use it. For your filter modification functions are all selected and so on. Okay. The calculate function DAX, it evaluates an expression in a modified filter context. That is the beauty of calculate. In a modified filter, there are two parts here. One is the aggregation. In this case, the expression is mandatory and the filter is optional. The calculate function is somewhat similar to your sum if function. Now we'll go and take a look at how we can use the calculate function in Power BI desktop. What I will do is I just start with creating a measure. How to create a measure? You can click on the modeling ribbon and click on the new measure. Yes, the table we'll discuss it, Sai Sudha. We'll go one by one. First, we start with understanding the measure. So you can click on this. It gives you the code completion facility. You don't have to type the entire column name. And I'm going to press enter. So here it's pretty simple. The measure name is total revenue. And followed by that, I specify the equal sign. Followed by the equal sign, you need to specify expression. In this case, the expression is pretty simple. We are performing only the sum on the sales amount column. Okay, here I did not use calculate. Let's go step by step. First, let us understand what is the measure. Look here, what I do is I just click on the quad visual. As soon as you create a measure, it will not display the value like calculator column. You need to drop the measure into visual 451. So only then you can see the value. Okay, it will get, see, when the moment when I drag and drop it, right, that time it performs the aggregation on the fly. It's all happening in a matter of seconds or milliseconds. Okay. Okay, this is the total revenue. I just go here and then I just select this one, copy, and I'll just keep it in my clipboard. I just click on it one more time, another visual, same chord visual. This time I just drop the sales amount here. It is implicit measure. This is your explicit measure, right? So in this case, I have created an explicit measure by the name of total revenue. Here, sum of sales I use it. Here, without even using sum of sales amount, it gives me this one because that is the default behavior. If you drag and drop any numeric column, it gives the total sales sum. The default aggregation function is sum. This is implicit measure, the explicit measure. Now I just go to the modeling tab again, create a new measure. Here I just copy paste the same thing, and here I just say, and here what I do is I'm going to use, now I'm going to use the calculate function, and here I just select this one, and look here, it gives me the syntax here. The first one supposed to be expression comma filter one comma. In this case I'm not going to use any filter. Press enter. I'm going to select a new another visual. Calculate total revenue. If you see here, all the three values are. Just give me a second. I have. Okay, now you see that the calculate function gives the same thing. Fine. And for the sake of the continuation, what I will do is I just go here, the previous topic which we discussed a while ago, right? I'll just show you that one also here. Sum x. This is a measure. Even in measure, we can perform row by row operation, but it is not. It's not a best practice. Sum x is an iterative function. Hence, the first argument is supposed to be your table name. In this case, I'm going to use a filter sales fact, comma. Here, let's say the location name is equivalent to, for example, I think I have DL data in it. I just press enter. Okay, here it is not required any of. Here the since we have used the sumx function, it does the row by row operation. Also, it applies the filter context. So not this one. Sorry. Second total revenue. Okay, Bangalore. I don't think so. I have any record in it. Okay, what I will do is I just use only the sales fact. Okay, before we jump into the next thing, right? Start with the very basic thing, and then we will do this one. Okay, yeah. All the four visuals shows the same output, but this is very expensive in the measure if you use sumx, because on the fly it has to calculate. Importantly, when you use any slicer, okay, in this case you are using a slicer, and here, for example, you are using a category related slicer, and when you select any specific category on the fly, it has to calculate this total, right? Sumx function, row by row, it has to go and do this. It's a very expensive operation. Okay, I cleared the filter. Sorry, I code. Next one is the calculate, the core of the calculate. Okay, here I just select this one. I will just go down and look this one. Look for, I was looking for this one. Okay, I just use. Now let us go one step further, and let's introduce a little bit complexity. Dairy total revenue. Here, what I do is, comma, here I just say the category, sorry, dim category is equivalent to, let's say, dairy. In this case, what we are doing, we are finding out the total sales we made in dairy category. We want to find out. So these two columns are coming from two different tables. Okay, this time what I am going to do is I just select a table visual, or better we'll use the matrix visual, and then I just select the category column. And then I drop it here, and then next one is the sales amount and profit. Okay, so here the sales amount came from here. Look here, if you hover the cursor here, I just dropped this directly from the table and profit. Okay, here instead of this one, we can use the total revenue. Total revenue. It is always recommended to use a measure. Okay, the explicit measure. Just drop this one, and then I just move this up. Total revenue and profit. We can see that here. The next one is, we have created another measure, calc, and what is that? Calculate. So ideally, we need to create a dedicated table for this one. What is that? I created it. So here I created it for calculate trade total. I've used comma. I used which one? Yeah, category is equivalent to dairy. Oh, okay, I use the dairy sales, right? Okay, I think I used started with dairy. Yeah, dairy total revenue. Okay, and here I just drop this one. It gives me the same value across the rows. Okay. Okay. In this case, okay, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use, instead of boolean, I'm going to use a filter function. Okay, filter, we need to give the table name first, because filter as an exception is also an iterating function, right? Okay, now I just press enter. Okay, so it shows only the dairy related sales here. Now what I do is I just select beverages, and here it shows only the beverages, and dairy. If I select, it shows this one and frozen cake. Okay, and look here, in this case, if I unselect dairy, sorry, if I select only the beverages, this one is not displaying it, right? What I will do is, I'm going to copy the same thing. I'm going to create another measure where we will use the boolean one. Sorry. Sorry, here it will throw an error. Yeah, because the daily here in this case, I just use boolean. Okay, for your reference, I just use boolean, or boolean I put daily total revenue. Here I'm using the boolean filter, daily total revenue boolean. Okay, it repeats the same value across the rows. When I use the boolean, the idea of this one is, if you want to compare the each categories, each, if you want to compare the dairy category sales along with each category, this is helpful. In this case, what happens is the row level filter is happening. You remember, in the case of row level beverage, in beverages, how many units we sold in total, how much profit we made in total, right? And but that is what it shows. But in the case of dairy, this is what is happening. Okay, but this one is getting displayed across the rows. But when you use a filter function, it shows only this one. The reason is, in the case of filter function, it filters, it creates subset of the table, right? In the subset of the table only, it applies the sum. Okay, that is the reason why it shows only the value here. But whereas here, it repeats the same value across the thing, so that you can compare, okay, beverages and daily in the, sorry, daily category, right? So in daily category and this one, how much we made. This is really helpful if you wanted to find out the percentage of contribution by each category out of this dairy category. You know very well, in dairy category, you are really doing great job. Your business is very well in dairy category. You want to understand how much percentage of contribution by each category out of the dairy. The other question is, you want to understand out of the total sales, how much revenue you made in each category. That is also possible here. How do we do this? How do we do this one? So, for example, I want to find out the percentage of sales. How? Sorry, the percentage of which category the revenue we have made more in terms of percentage. You want to say it. How can I find out? You need to take this value and divide by this. And yes, you need to use the divide function, right? Yes, and you need to take this value and divide it. But in Excel, unlike Excel, here you cannot take each cell value and divide by the total value upfront. Okay, so the only way out is you need to take the total sales value and display it across the rows, so that if this one displays across the rows, take this value and divide by 4,56,000. 400 divided by 4,56,000, 4,03,000 divided by 4,56,000, in order to understand percentage of contribution of sales by each category out of the total sales. And similarly, if you want to understand percentage of total sales, sorry, percentage of sales we made out of, right? So you want to compare this one, right? So the total revenue by category. For example, you want to take this value and divide by this. Okay, so what is the revenue contribution by each category out of your dairy sales? Okay, dairy sales. That is additional insight, and with that you can understand. See, your maybe the flagship product or the product which gives you more revenue or the category, right? That is your dairy. You know very well. Out of this, which category gives more contribution? That is an additional insight. You can get it. Okay. So here, in this case, what is happening is it is overriding the existing filter. For example, if I select beverages, care and personal care, still it is displaying it here. Okay. In this case, the personal care, how much total sales, beverage, how much, but what is this one? Dairy. In dairy category, how much sales we made in total. That is the one it displaying. In this case, it is not. It is modifying the existing filter. What is the existing filter? The beverages and personal care. right? It is simply disregarding this one. This is not related to beverages. This is not related to personal care. It is modifying the internal as well as external filter content. The default filter context in these cases, beverages and personal care. Yes, it is not applied here. As long as these two columns are concerned, it got applied. When it comes to this one, it is not applying it here. It is simply because in this I've used the calculate function. The calculate function I've used the filter condition on the dairy category. So in this case, though the filter context already exists, default filter and the external filter, it only the calculate wins. Okay, it simply disregards that one. We can modify the filter context using the calculate function. You understood? Next one is okay. To going back to this one, for example, I wanted to see the revenue contribution by each category out of the total sales. How can I do that? So how can I do? So for that, we need to use another function called all function, using which you can find out the total sales, all the category put together, what the total is. That you need to display it across the rows. Okay. For that, what I'm going to do is anyhow, I just clear this slicer, and I'm going to create another measure. For this, I just, for the sake of saving the time, I'm going to use the filter modification function. We have something called filter modification function. Here, the same thing, and here I'm going to remove this. I'm going to use all function. All is a filter modification function. It simply ignores the filter. Okay, it simply ignores all the filters. Here I'm going to use the sales fact table, not the sales fact table, the category, bin category. You can specify a table name as an argument to your all function, or you can specify the column names as part of your all function. So that if you specify, for example, here if I specify the category or no, it will ignore any filter comes from your category column. Simply disregard that one. Okay. So here also it finds out the total sales amount. But even if you select anything in your slicer visual, any category, it simply display the total sales across the rows. Why we need this? You want to find out the percentage. For that purpose, we need this measure. I just drop this here. It's not all daily total revenue. It's all total revenue. Okay. I just rename it. Yes, Pooja, I removed it. So I'm done. So now it is pretty simple. Since the total sales, look here, the total sales, I did not apply any filter here. I did not apply any filter. All the category put together, what is the total sales? This is the one is repeated across the rows. So now your job is pretty simple. Total revenue column. You can use a divide function. That is also a DAX function. Inside the divide, you specify the numerator as a total revenue. The denominator, you need to specify this one. That's all. I just create another measure. Divide the numerator is your total revenue. That is a measure already we created. Simply reuse the measure. So with this, you are able to understand we can use a measure in another measure. You don't have to again specify the same logic, sum of all the thing. Okay. The denominator, I'm going to use all total revenue. Simply select this one, comma zero. Sometimes what will happen is if you listen, zero divided by anything is zero, right? Sometimes anything divided by zero will become infinity. In that kind of situation, throw an error. To handle the error, I'm putting zero here. Okay, if this is not throwing any error, you give me some default value zero. Okay, okay. So numerator is total revenue, denominator is all total revenue. So this one will give me the percentage. What I'll do is I'll just multiply this by 100. I just drop this here. So we can see that the dairy contributes more. Rest of them are not seen. Importantly, beverages not at all helpful, right? So with this, they can decide whether they can discontinue this category. Okay, so or maybe they can promote this category. Okay, so they can take decision on it. So now, in the total revenue column is not at all required. All function where may be used, right? In this case, what happened is, for example, if I in this case, if you see here in beverages, out of the totals is 400. The row level filter is not applying here, right? The default row filter is the initial filter, the default filter is not applied here. It is simply ignoring it because in the all function, we have mentioned the dim category table. There are dim category tables, category column. So the category column, any filter comes, you disregard it. Okay, row level, it simply disregards this. And if I select anything here in the outside of this one, it simply invalidates any filter comes from the external also. Look here. So it simply disregard the row level filter, and at the same time the external filter also it ignores that. It invalidates that. Okay. So, but you understood why we need to use all function in order to disregard the filters, right? The whole objective is this one. So once we arrive this one, yeah, all supersedes any other slicer or filter, any other filters. Okay, it supersedes anything. Okay, you can say that way also. And here now you understood, right? So it gives me the total sales. I just clear this one. We are good. Next one is the all. So now this one is not required. Anyhow, I'm going to keep this for reference sake. And we have something called what is the all function. So all total revenue. Here itself we can see all total revenue. I just copy this. Instead of all function, I'm going to use in the next measure all selected. To understand the all selected, all selected. And here instead of all function, I'm going to use all selected. That's it. Press enter. All selected total revenue. Yeah, this is the one. So both all and all selected seems to be same. You might be tempted to think the functionality also same. It is not same. For example, I just select beverages, dairy, and personal care. I selected these, I applied the filter, for these categories, right? And we can see that this one, the all function remains same. It gives me the total sales of all the categories. Got it? Whereas the all selected, it gives me the total revenue, for only for the displayed values. In the visual, what are the displayed values? The beverages, dairy, and personal care. For this, what is the total is 4,29,000. This is the one is displayed across the rows. If your manager asks you, give me the percentage of contribution, revenue contribution by each category out of the totals, is you can give this one. If you ask you another question, hey, give me the percentage of revenue contribution by the categories that are visible in my visual. That kind of thing. This is helpful. Now you can, you can create another measure. Use this as a numerator denominator. Okay, and you can do it that way. So in that case, you will get an answer for that. So in this case, what is happening? All selected. What is happening? It repeats, it displays the total sales for the visible categories across the rows. In this case, it still obeys the external filter, but in this case, the internal filter, row level filter, it simply disregards that. Okay, it gives me only the three categories total sales. Hence, it obeys the external filter. In this case, the slicer. Here, I just clear this now. And the same thing here, the divide function, I used it. Not the, yeah, percentage, right? Yeah, percentage of revenue contribution. Modeling ribbon, you go here and click on the new measure. So in this case, I just as a revenue contribution. Here I just put all selected, for okay, okay, yeah, for our references. Okay, all selected, something like that. Here the total revenue, instead of all function, I'm going to use all selected. This is the one we have created it. So this column, okay, this numerator divided by this, in the denominator, you put this one. That's all. Okay. Into 100, yeah, it's already there. Good. One second. Percentage of sales contribution. Yeah, the percentage of revenue are all selected. Yes. If you put it here, okay. And here you need to apply the filter. So out of the visual total, right? So the total sales for the visual categories are displayed here. And then what is the contribution, revenue contribution? Okay, here the all, yeah, point cyanide. Okay, in dry fruits and beverages in personal care, we can see that the, yeah, the dry fruit stops the sales, and other personal care also tops, right? The percentage. And here overall, if you see here, yeah, both of them are good. Dry fruits and personal care. Let me just check it here. Yeah, personal care and dry fruits, we can see the percentage of contributions. I don't know. Yeah, dairy is the top one. Excluding dairy, the remaining contributors, top contributors are the dry fruits and personal care. Good. This is how we can create it. Okay. Now we explored the calculate function. The using calculate function, you can modify the filter context. You can add a filter context. Okay. If you want to add any additional filter context, like here, in this case, yeah, so here Boolean expression, I used it. In this case, what happened? It modified the filter context, right? It added a new filter context. But the all function helped us to modify the existing filter context, the default filter context. Okay. The advantage of the all function is you can compute the percentages. Similarly, all selected. We have compared and contrasted all and all selected also. All selected display the total sales across rows for the visuals, for the selected visuals. Okay. Or the visuals that are displayed in the, or sorry, the categories that are displayed in your visual. Okay. The total all function, it simply disregards all the thing. Okay. And again, we can add another slicer here. In this case, you can add the location or product name, and then you can put the product name here. Okay, second column, and then you test along with the category. And if you select a specific product, what is happening here? The second column, suppose your product name. Okay, that is an assignment for you all. Give it a try. Yes, Pooja, even I'm getting a lot of calls. We will, Pooja and others. Okay, we will continue the session tomorrow, same time. Okay, we'll continue the session tomorrow, same time. In the meanwhile, you just give it your try. Okay, fine. Any questions so far?